Welcome to the Fail Forward podcast. The purpose of this podcast is change the negative stigma around failure into a positive. Failure is only a negative if we do not learn from it and we give up. Welcome back to the Fail Forward podcast. So today I want to talk to you about the businesses that I run and the time management that I have to do within my life. A lot of people say to me, wow, Henry, you've got a lot going on. How do you find the time to do all this and also still enjoy a life where you get to spend time with your family, etc., etc.? And that's what I want to talk to you about today. And I think it's really important to understand it, especially going back to what we were talking about earlier in the earlier episode about the iceberg effect and understanding what goes on behind the scenes. So I just wanted to sort of set the picture of what I actually do in the businesses that I run. So I run 5 different businesses. I've got HRG Tree Surgeons, which we rebuilt 3 years ago after we had the business failure, which is why we started this podcast. I've got Edify Properties, which is a property business that we invest money into properties. We have investors who we get good returns on their savings by investing into property or loaning us money so we can buy property, do it up, and then we refinance it. So that's slowly growing on the side. We've got Edify Service Accommodation. So service accommodation is Airbnbs essentially, where we rent properties from landlords in Southampton, and with their agreement, we then furnish them and put them on things like Airbnb and Booking.com, and we make revenue for that. And we also manage other people's service accommodation. So people have their own properties that have done service accommodation, and we give them the hands-off experience. So that's another business. Business number 4 is my mentoring and mastermind business, which I mentor businesses, and I have a tree surgery mastermind. And then I have a property networking event that I hold once a month in Southampton, which is a property networking event where people who are involved in property or sell services to people in property come and network and build those really important relationships. On top of that, I run this podcast and also run a book club as well for the Only Network. Now, a lot of people go, wow, that's so much. How do you do that? How do you have the time to do that? Well, my answer is that I use other people's time. And it's really important when you're wanting to grow a business or a network of businesses, whatever it is, that you have the understanding that you can't do it all yourself. And it took the business going under for me to have that mindset shift to not want to do everything myself. Because I used to try and do it all myself all the time. Yes, I had teams going and doing tree work for me, but I was always trying to do a lot of it myself, working long days, long evenings, into the evenings, weekends. And what I realized is that will just burn you into the ground. Like, you only have so much energy and time in life, and we all have the same amount of time in life. And what I realized is the people that are really successful are the people that understand that they can only do certain amount of things. They understand their personality, what they're good at, what their strengths are, and what their weaknesses are, and then they employ to what their weaknesses are to help them become stronger as a whole. So that's really what I wanted to talk to you today about today's episode, is that you don't have to do it all. If you want to create a business, if you want to create multiple businesses or whatever it is, you don't have to do it all. You need to get people to help you. And at the beginning, because also I appreciate there's the chicken and egg thing. You might be a small business looking to this and going, well, it's easy for you to say, Henry, you've got multiple businesses now, you can employ people. But it wasn't always like that. And certainly in say, my property business, we don't have the cash flow right now to go and employ lots of people. So you have to be resourceful to start off with. For example, when we started in property, we were Sophie's niece, who now actually is old enough to work for us. At the time she was 15, and she was sending letters for us, and she was just earning some extra pocket money, basically just putting letters into envelopes. But that then took that job away from me or Sophie. And it meant that I had more time to go and do the important things like finding deals, etc., etc. I wasn't having to then, put stamps, write on envelopes because we wanted to look at authentic. Because some people might be listening thinking, why you're not using labels? Well, we wanted it to be authentic, so we wanted to write all the envelopes and then put stamps on. And that all takes time. And you might think, well, that's really easy to do. Yes, it might be easy thing to do, but is that the best use of your time? And that's why it's really important to value your time. And one of the biggest things that my first coach did was got me to work out what my hourly rate is and what the income, not just that I am currently earning, but what the income is that I want to earn, and break that down into an hourly rate and ask yourself, is that the best use of your time, putting stamps and writing on envelopes? If you're earning £100 an hour, or you're worth £100 an hour, why are you doing a minimum wage job or that anybody could do? So that really had a big mindset shift and made me realize that there's some really important income generating tasks that I should be focusing on, not maybe doing the admin. But like I was saying, is there is a very chicken and egg kind of situation, because when you're a small business and you're growing, you might not necessarily be able to afford to go and employ lots of full-time staff. So you've got to get the right balance, and at some points you might have to take the fact that you're going to break even for a while because you're in a growth period where you need to take these people on and to get to this place that you want to get to. Like I've said in previous episodes, what got you to where you are today won't get you necessarily to where you want to go. And that's the really important thing to get yourself into. But we're actually at a point now, since COVID and everyone working from home, where we're actually at a very good point of business where there's so much more available of outsourcing people. You know, there's the great resignations happened. There's so many more people out there who've left corporate jobs who are now freelance, independent consultants and contractors that will be able to help you. You can go on to Upwork or any of those kind of sites and get someone to do your logo, or to be able to write some copy for you, or to do your SEO for you. You've got VAs, virtual assistants. You've got amazing VAs in this country, in the Philippines, for I think like £3 or £4 an hour, which is actually a really good wage for people in the Philippines. There's so many ways that we can be resourceful where you're not having to do it all yourself. And that's why I just set out at the beginning, it was said with complete humility with the network of businesses that I now own and run, that I wanted to give some people some context that it's not all me running it. You know, I've got Sophie, who is my absolute rock. She is amazing. I am the starter. I'm the guy with the ideas, and Sophie is my completer finisher, and she is the person who is the glue to the service accommodation business and the tree surgery business. She is out of this world amazing, and she is very humble. She'll be probably, if she listens to this, saying no, I'm not, but she is fantastic, and she helps me organize a lot of the things, because I'm generally not an organized person at all. I have to work really hard on being organized and being disciplined with my organization, but I understand that, and I understand my weaknesses, and that's why I try and employ people to try and help me with it. There's a really good book, which I think I've talked about before, which is Who, Not How. And that is a book which, instead of thinking, how can I do something, who can I find that will help me with this? And this is where it's really important to not be thinking how I can do everything, and be thinking about what you can do. That I would say the main way to scale in business is using other people's time. You know, you're not going to be able to grow a big, successful business without using other people's time, whether that's employed people, virtual assistants, contractors, consultants. You're going to need to use the expertise of other people and the time of other people, because going back to when I talked about winning formulas and the fact that I want to spend time with my children, if I was trying to do everything in all the businesses, then I wouldn't have the time or capacity to spend with my children. I wouldn't be able to go on holiday and do all the things. And that's not a life, and it's not a business. If you have to work in your business 12 hours a day, evenings and weekends, then that's not a business. It's just a very, very, very underpaid job. You know, I would set everyone a challenge now: work out how much you pay yourself weekly, Work out how many hours you do in your job and work out what your actual hourly rate is, because I think you'll be surprised. When I worked it out once, I think I was paying myself something like £3.50 an hour. And I suddenly realised that I was doing lots of hours. I wasn't paying myself enough. And that's when I really had that mindset shift to start thinking about who can I get to help me. One great tip I've got is I write a to-do list, and I'll write one page of all my to-do list. And then what I'll do is, once I've written my to-do list, next to it, I'll write the names of the people within the organisations that I run who are going to do those tasks for me. Then I write a new list, which every time is about 15% of the size of that list. And it's a really good thing to do to get your mindset into delegating and getting people to do it. You're paying people to work for you. And so get them to do these things. And that, again, doesn't necessarily have to be someone direct. You could have a virtual assistant that you can get to do these things. So that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about today, is the really importance of using other people's time, not trying to do everything yourself, not trying to do some of the most technical things that you might not be your specialist at, valuing yourself, really valuing yourself high, understanding your strengths and working to your strengths. Don't get me wrong, there will be times, and there's times now where I'm working still in the evening, some evenings, the kids go to bed and I'm picking things up. I've got a couple of businesses that are still in the first year of trading, and I am having to do a lot of those things because it's a chicken and egg kind of thing. And I'm having to do that. So you'll still have to do it, but I've got a plan, and my plan, after a certain amount of time is to employ somebody. So it's okay to be in the trenches and doing these things, be in that chaos stage where you're having to work late evenings. As long as you've got a plan to get out of that, and you've got a plan to employ and to use other people's time to then be able to scale. And that's the really important thing. And I talked about it in one of the previous episodes, having that plan, having that strategy, knowing where you're going to go, and then employing people to use other people's time to be able to scale and be able to create the lives that you want. Because that's why we get into business, right? We get into business because we want more time, we want more money. But what quite often happens is you get into business and you have less time and less money because you're having to try and build a business and it's absolute chaos and you're working every hour. But I'm wanting to tell you that doesn't have to be that way. You can create a business that works for you. So use other people's time, whichever way round you want it to do. Use other people's time. One of the greatest things I've done is have a mentor and be part of masterminds, and that really helps me understand all of the things that we're talking about through all this podcast, put things in perspective, find the right people to be able to help me create the network of businesses that I want, which is part of my 5-year strategy and my goal. So I hope this helps you today. Thank you for listening to the Fail for podcast, and I'll see you next time.